Hello and welcome to Advanced Lyricism class. All right, so first thing we're going to figure out is that clap, class, fingers. No, take that away. Here's the part. Okay, so we're going to learn about, you know, one thing I know is that rap music is like there's always a lady in the classroom who wants to fuck, and she will say, "All right, that's it," and then she will say, "No, you can't do that." And then you can't say anything, and if you do, it'll piss her off, and then she's gonna go fuck with your finger, you know. But the thing about it is that you have to learn dimensions. You have to learn muscle. You have to learn straining, tension, weighting, and you have to know where the shit is going and where it's not going. You never can have a dead end. Um, one thing I'm gonna go ahead and teach you is that you need to have punches. You need to have things that are said. You can't have something that doesn't have muscle in it. And I know that there's a person that did horrible named DH that I rapped with, and he never has used one punch and never has used one elbow, never has used one clap, never has used one bass kick when I observed him. And the thing is that you will be weak if you don't. And see, Eminem is a great principle, but look at his song campaign speech and it'll kind of teach you a little bit about it. It's pretty pathetic, but if you have muscles and you have something to say and you wait on what's said, then you have to finish your sentence. And see, when you finish your sentence, you never finish your sentence. You have an infinite dose of word, you know. Every word you have is supposed to be your maximum that you can give. Maximum punch, maximum arm flex, maximum fat ass this could potentially be that I can fuck or look at and give it some help, because it's got to have tight dimensions. It's got to have something around it. It's got to have, when I'm looking at a fat ass, I want it to have enough muscle to be able to do what it needs to do, to be able to jump, to be able to fuck, to be able to speak, to be able to listen, you know. And you have to do that. Otherwise, you're not a rap artist, and you're not a hip hop artist, and you're not a lyricist, but maybe a hip hop artist if it has to do with hips and popping, then hip hop will never last. It won't. But at least lyricism is just the fact. It's probably just licking a pole. But the thing is that whatever it is, MC, pumping, MC, you have to be able to learn how to, you know, have, a limit. And you have to look at every single person's body and you have to borrow it. When someone's postured like this, you posture further than this. So you can get in there and you can fit back and lean back further so they have somewhere that they can just kind of chill next time they sit down. When a girl has a tight ass, you have to be able to, when you see her get up with that, you have to be able to get up with that and be able to pump it a little bit further. And the word has to be it. You have to be able to use those words to be able to really pump it inside of there. And you have to be able to copy everyone's voice. All you have to do is be quiet and just let your vocal cords just and say for them. Let them speak for you. What I'm saying. You know what that sounds like. Blah blah blah. But that's the thing, is that you have to let every voice, when someone's like this, someone's like this a little bit higher. A little bit more tighter. When someone's got a low voice, you need to be able to come up with some kind of way to over accent it more than that person. That way they can relax. It's like they have a large shirt, but now you have them in XL. So now they can feel nice and relaxed, Or someone has a XL shirt and you can tighten it. That doesn't make any sense, except for, basic logic is that you don't want someone like, let me just go ahead and use this as a reference. Cher is a very shitty musician. and is mere trash. And it is literally trash, and it's there for you to look at. Cher is very horrible music. Anything that doesn't make you want to pump muscle in and fuck. You don't want something that is going to rotate slowly and then it has it where they're doing the Keegan exercises. You know, when they're just sitting there and they're just like, okay, insert tampon, and then it's just little things sticking out of your mouth. You know, you don't want music that sounds like that. Good example is Violent J. He's horrible. He's just not using that. It's pathetic. You know, anything that just kind of, and anything that is like really slow and really annoying, and it fucks people against the wall and is really sideways, like a lot of rock songs that just don't have it. They aren't using the technology that we're getting given. Is the fact that the maximum strength that we can give, that is counting is one thing. Is counting, is that that the clap is the maximum. It has to be the maximum, clappage. It can be foot clapping because these are feet. This is a vagina. And you have to know that. And that's easy to figure out. It's easy to remember. And you need to be able to measure the dimensions. I didn't bring that stupid, silly thing, but I love big women, and I've looked at so many BBWs. I still love BBWs, and I always will. And SSBBWs, supersized, big, beautiful women and big, beautiful women. And I also like that, You also kind of like, I have this little necklace, and it can kind of be on this. I always use this as the mathematical rule. Find something else, or whatever. I always have it where there's a little piece of jewelry on someone's ankle, foot, or their hand or something. But this is, that jewelry is being described, little pieces, little pieces, and then you pull it. Everything you have to talk about needs to have the little pull on it. That way, when you pick up something to measure it, you can actually touch it and pull it like silkworm. You can pull it and, feel the cloth. See how someone weighs, see how this. You can pick up and grab, you can pull skin. It's very useful to be able to pick up and pull and be able to touch things the whole time while you're speaking. Your mouth does it itself. Your mouth is fingers. Fingers. And, another thing I kind of figured out was that, there's some kind of music where there's no beat. And you ever figured out how to like beat it with rap music? It's like facing this way and then facing this way and then facing this way. It's facing this way. But anyway, another thing, it has to have pump in it. You can't have an idle thing sitting there and then it looks all like, it looks like, I'm going to play, you can't have, you have to have, when you have, a foot that is just sitting there and dangling, or, a limb that is dangling, it has to have something grabbing it. When there's something like this around the wrist, it has to be grabbing that. It's got to be holding it tight with real muscles. You can't just have something and it not be holding on. When you got a chain, it is fucking chilling. It is a person, literally. You have to be the person dangling over your neck. You have to be able to feel it there. It can't just beeses. You can't do this shit to me, beeses. And yeah. So anyway, the dimensions, you can say that, for example, if you see like something beautiful, there's showing and revealing, and there's something, this shirt has to be grabbing at some point, even if it is big, around my dimensions, it has to be measured, when I look at something, it has to be measured. Another thing that's really critical is the crucial point. And the crucial points are always closed cleavage. It's like having a circle around something, like right here, and then you say point. You have a word for each point. kind of look around. Like if you go grocery shopping or wherever you go, go to the go walk, take a walk or whatever, hang out with people. You have to find a way to be able to zoom in on things. Like this could be, a word. I'm seeing the word square, but it's a circle. But you have to find something that can find that general, not this, but it has to have a general pull. Like this is important. Is that put a circle around that area, and then figure out what I'm pulling and where would it be the sexiest at. I'm seeing me pulling on someone else's shirt. It's got to be pulling on someone else's shirt or someone else's clothing or thread or particle, and you can get a nice, good, easy, good feel. It has to feel really sexy and like you're just getting the first pussy ever, or first dick ever if you're a woman, or whatever the hell you want it to be. I don't care. I don't care what you do. And another thing, is that, I mean, this is just too much, but it can all. I just described all of it, so you can just go with that. But also you can also look at it like, when your hand is open, you don't want to just, I don't know. It's like slipping your foot in a shoe, or a sock. When you have words, it's got to be able to have grab. Like when you have a hand and it's just not grabbing something, it's got to be able to have grab. And when your toes are closed like this, they are storing information. And I learned that in storing information, that when they are closed and tight together, that they are looked at and observed in the air, of course, maybe from another person's point of view, but at least there, And when all the information that we ever thought about and even knew is right there, when this is closed and when it looks good and feels good and it's in one of those sexual positions. It's the only time that we will ever know anything. It's because we like fucking and we know that that's easy, and it's a good feeling. So, just picture someone's feet in the air comfortably where it should be, because everyone's feet have to be in the air at some point. And it's got to feel good. Just having that heel hit the back of your hand feels great, if it looks good, feels good. And, that would go for anybody, and when it's grabbing and everything, all I use is, these principles, definitely, when it's open, it's not doing anything. Closed, when it's going in a shoe, it's storing information. You can't have just crappy looking feet that just stink and aren't taken care of. And when it starts stinking and, not being looked at, they'll start stinking themselves. So they'll try to. And that's when you're losing information. So you got to be able to make sure that, your hands, which I'm discovering this, is feet. This is a foot, is a hand, and it's reverse compatible, but it's good to figure out how it works. And with dimensions, it's kind of like, I know this is really unorganized, but it's extremely fucking organized. That when you have like a future you to look at, Ludacris likes to talk about women and game on, but really all he does is take, like I said, those little cleavage area like that, and then you put it into a closed point that is kind of like staying there, like when you feel like hiding, and then you go hide in the corner. This is a position that is a permanent position. Because it feels comfortable, because something's out there. Nothing's ever out there. But you realize that when you get into a position that is, kind of military feeling, or kind of, like organized feeling, that you feel like you have purpose and it gives it meaning. That's how your keywords have to come from. when you see something that looks good that is tight in that area, you have to give grab around it to that, you know. Even if, I mean, when a guy looks good, you do it. When a girl looks good, you do it. When a dog looks good, you do it. When furniture looks good, you do it. When the house looks good, you do it. When the sun outside looks good. When some metaphor looks good. When a painting looks good. When someone in the movie looks good. And it never, ever will switch off. It's always just what looks sexier because it looks like it's holding it harder and it's making it tighter. And we can all think together and make the sexy things about us be even stronger. But the things that aren't sexy about us disappear and be destroyed. You know, and that's how everything works in the world. And that's how words work. You don't want to have a teacher in a classroom because a teacher in a classroom is always going to be that perverted old cuckold who's just not going to have any words. You know, and it's including me. All I'm teaching you how to do is just how not to know what you're doing. But anyway, you know, like I said about Ludacris, you know, he likes to feed people food, you know, and make them want to be stronger, you know, and make them want to be juicier, thicker, but in the right proportions and, you know, skinny in the right places. You know, that is something you have to be able to do. You have to be able to pump your muscle into the person. You have to be able to take this, and then you have to be able to pull the blood out, and you have to take it and put it into someone else's arm. You got to be able to take this strength, and you got to be able to put it into the body. You know, you have to be able to do it. You got to be able to do it. You have to be able to do it. It's got to be done. You know, you have to be healthy and you have to be strong. You know, and you got to tell people, you know, this strength is being put into you. You know, the strength is being put into you. You know, and that is what it's for. That's what it's all about, is taking your strength, measuring it, and putting it into it. When someone's weak and wimpy, you don't want to be the little hero who's going to be weaker than them. You want to be able to take that strength in that person and pump it in that shit, you know, until it has actual, like, good definition, good health, you know, good continuation. And then you pump it into that. You pump it into you. When you find other people that look at you, say, you know, his mouth looks good closed here. You know, you pump it into this body here. And say, yeah, he looks good like that. You know, you pump it in there. You know, and there's no other way to do it. And anyone who ever tried, even people who made hit songs, they still have to go by that rule, or they didn't make a hit song. They didn't use one word that hit. It's got to be able to connect. It's got to be able to hit. You know, it's got to be able to be felt. You can't have something that goes like this and it goes, long song. You know, it can't be that lonely loner. You know, you can't have a song like that. You got to have something that's stronger than lonely loner. That's why they have, you know, what? Okay, you know. And see, that doesn't sound good because there's no strength coming from it. You know, it's got to have pump in it. It's got to have pump. So learn how to have pump. Learn about your dimension. Learn about how this looks. Does it look good? I don't think it does if I was like holding the table at this angle. You know, you can't rap and hold a table at this angle. You know, when you're this is sticking out. You know, you can't grab something like this at that angle. You can't use your hand at this angle. If you can't use your hand at this angle, you don't want to speak at this angle. You know, don't make yourself rap in positions that are hard to hold stuff in. You know, rap in positions that are, you know, natural for you and that are useful for you. Don't not know what you're doing and just moving your hand. And then you realize that when Eminem's doing this, he's actually petting a black gay guy's head, you know, until he learns how to pump the muscle in it. You can't just have some wimp with money. You know, you can't have Paul Rosenberg, you know, be able to make that dude any good. He needs to have muscle pumped into his music. You know, you have to know how. That guy was, his weakness is that money equals muscle. That's not true. You know, learn that muscle equals muscle. You know, that's true.